Okay, and we're recording. Hey, Jason.
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm not good. Just another tough one for the Bears today.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but I am continually encouraged by the progress that Caleb Williams is showing the last couple of weeks. He did everything he could to win that game today, and he did not lose it for them.
As we talked about last week, I mean, the season has kind of turned into Caleb Williams and his progression and his improvement, and really nothing else mattering at this point. I mean, they only had, I think, coming into today, like a 1.6% chance of making the playoffs, and that kind of went out the window today. So, and actually, I wouldn't even want this team to make the playoffs the way they play. So it's, yeah.
No, it hurts their draft position. Why would you blow that
Absolutely.
up? There's really no benefit to making the playoffs at this point. But Caleb, a great game, I would say. I mean, I thought he was significantly better this game than he was in the last one, which was significantly than the last one. So that progression has been great. Set a rookie record for the Bears, most yards passing.
He passed. I'm not sure who it was, but he did pass the record for rookie yards in a rookie season, if I can spit that.
Which is kind of pathetic, really, if you think about it. It's only like 2,400 yards, but still,
I know
there's that.
Yeah, I would have been really upset if he didn't break that record, so to speak. So
yeah,
but,
well, there was the hype around. He's going to throw for 4,000 yards. He has to average, I think it's 274 yards passing every game the rest of the season to hit 4,000 yards. Which, if he's playing like today, I mean, start within a realm of possibility. And you have to assume that they're going to be losing and playing catch up, so they're probably going to be throwing the ball more.
It is possible. I mean, today was his second 300-yard game. I think he threw for 340.
2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles.
Another game without interceptions, no fumbles. He was 32 for 47. Mm-hmm. And what I really liked about today is he actually took shots down the field and completed. Yeah, completed some stuff. I know he overthrew. I think it was Rome on a play down the sideline, but completed a lot of balls down the field today, which was really nice to see.
He played really well. There's one play that I'm critical of, and that was in the overtime when he took the sack after dancing around there, where the offensive line, they've shown improvement the last couple of weeks. He must have been dancing back there for 7, 8, 10 seconds, something like that. And he takes a really bad sack in overtime, loses 10 yards, makes it 3rd and 21. And then that was pretty much, all she wrote after Minnesota.
Yeah. And what's bad is on that, he had Kmet right there in the flat. I mean, Kmet was there specifically to help protect. And finally he saw what was going on, broke away. And I think he had Swift in front of him, but, all he had to do was throw it over the defensive lineman's head, just kind of lob it over, and Kmet makes the catch. It probably doesn't get much, but I mean, they keep the drive going. But for them to take a sack there and then follow it up with a delay of game, which was even more disappointing. That kind of was the nail in the coffin for them today.
And another blocked field goal.
Yeah, another.
I mean,
what a funky week for the special teams unit. A blocked field goal. A punt that landed and went off of DeAndre Carter's shin that resulted in a Vikings possession. And then they recover the first onside kick recovered in the entire NFL in the season. Mm-hmm. Very strange day for the special teams unit of the NFL for the Bears today. But the other thing is some interesting decisions by Eberflus today.
Do tell.
Well, okay. They're down by 14. Mm-hmm. They score.
And they didn't kick the field goal? Or they didn't kick the extra point? They went for 2.
He likes to go for 2.
Okay.
Not really sure why he did that. They did not get it, which forced them to have to go for 2 when they scored again. Luckily, they did get it that time to tie the game. But the other issue I had was they were at Minnesota's 27-yard line pretty early in the third quarter. 4th down, they elect to go for it instead of taking the points. And I think if they'd taken the points at the time, it would have put them within 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. That was a total, the crowd booing him and him acquiescing to the crowd.
Yeah. And with the challenges the Bears have had scoring, granted, they didn't have that much of a problem today, which was good, but the problems they've had in the past, I don't know if he got gun shy with the 2 block field goals, one this week and one last week, but I mean,
Yeah, what does that say about
Jesus.
your team if you can't trust your field goal unit to block
Yeah,
to at least just even get a field goal off?
take the points, man. I mean, if he does that, they win today.
Yep.
You know, because they obviously they can get it on 4th down. I think Keenan Allen had a drop there actually that resulted in turnover on downs. Allen had 15 targets today. 15.
Yeah, it seems like they made a real effort to get him involved, and 9 catches, 86 yards. He got a touchdown. He had that drop at the end there, but
a few drops
when
today.
He did. And when he caught that touchdown at the end where Caleb was scrambling to his right and kind of lofted it up over the 3 defenders, I saw that catch and I thought for a second, I'm like, he's going to drop that ball. And then he kind of awkwardly catches it and then kind of frogs forward.
At first glance, I thought he scooped it off the turf. I thought, oh my God, he's not going to come up and get it. But it looked kind of awkward. I know Komet had a drop today on a key 3rd down that cost him. Just little mistakes. And good old DeAndre Swift, he did not break a run today.
He didn't do shit today.
13 carries, 30 yards.
I can't wait till he scores another touchdown and then he puts his fingers up to his lips to say quiet, to the crowd. Like, dude, he sucked today. Again, another bad rushing day. 22 carries, 78 yards, and 33 of those came from Caleb Williams.
Not good.
And 13 from DJ Moore is looking at the stats here. So DeAndre Swift, 13 for 30. Roschon Johnson, 2 carries, 2 yards, and a touchdown. I'm okay with that Roschon Johnson stat because that's he's the goal line guy. That's pretty much what I'm looking at.
Well, it was his 6th rushing touchdown of the season. It's just what I find. Well, I mean, this kind of sums it up for DeAndre Swift. So the later game that we're talking about, in the Niners-Packers game, we're talking about Josh Jacobs and the success he's having, and then we're talking about all the running backs that have changed teams this year. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones. Well, they listed those 5 guys and how many yards they had. They didn't even mention DeAndre Swift being number 6 on the list of yards, and he wasn't even good enough to make the graphic on the screen. He's just been bad, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's
$30 million.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the line or if it's him or if it's both. He just has not been good. I think he dances around too much. I think if he stays between the tackles, it's 2 yards and that's it. And
he's not a contact. He's not a contact runner. He's not going to pull you forward like a Derrick Henry or even a Roschon Johnson.
I expected more, but I can't get over the go for it or the go for 2 and going for it on 4th down. I just don't understand either one of those moves whatsoever at all.
If you were drafting a fantasy team and you had to choose a running back from the Bears, would you pick Swift or Johnson?
I would take Johnson, honestly. Okay. I would take Johnson because I think he can do more between the tackles. I think he can give you, I'm not going to say quite as much in the passing game and probably not as much outside the tackles, but I'm sorry. There are plays where you need 3 or 4 yards. Roschon's going to get them. Swift is not going to get them more often than not, in my opinion. At least he hasn't shown that he's able to get them.
Well, here when we play devil's advocate, Swift is going to be on the field more, or at least he has been so far. So he's got Swift on the season at 665 yards rushing. He's averaging 4 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns rushing. He's got 31 catches for 278 yards, no touchdowns. He's also got 2 fumbles, but no lost fumbles. Versus Roschon Johnson, who's got 139 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns. So he's got 1 more total touchdown and 11 catches for 88 yards. So as bad as we think DeAndre Swift has been, he's still averaging a full yard more than Roschon Johnson, who is averaging 2.9 yards a carry. Now, some of that's probably situational, right? He's a goal line back or whatever it may be, but he's clearly getting way more touches. And
I would say most of that is situational.
It's got to be so frustrating if you are a fantasy player and you have DeAndre Swift on your team when he's surrounded with all these weapons and he cannot break free. I mean, he's projected, I think, to get 1,000 yards, but barely at this point.
Yeah, I think he's projected at like 1,040 yards at his current pace, which, yeah, okay, 1,000-yard rush, that's great and all, but now they're playing 17 games. So that's like,
Yeah.
rushing for 1,000 yards isn't that big a deal to me. That's like, what, 60, 65 yards a game. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he's no Derrick Henry, he's no Saquon Barkley, but, you know, let's see, where does he rank on the league? He's 17th right now in total rushing yards. So middle of the pack. And they're paying him $30 million.
That's the problem. Is that they're paying him RB1 money and they're getting average production out of him. Yeah. But again, is it the line or is it him or is it both?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, we could definitely attribute some of this to the offensive line. They were absolutely horrendous the first several games. The last couple have been better, but I think that's attributed to the change in offensive coordinator and getting the ball out, generally speaking, quicker than they have in the past. Yes. But I also don't see DeAndre Swift as he's better as a slot receiver almost.
Yes.
He's a work done, type, a Darren Sproles type, like that kind of player.
I'd be really curious to know if the Bears actually made an attempt to sign Saquon Barkley, because that was all the talk. And if they did, what was the offer and how much did they come up short? Because imagine Barkley in this offense.
So let's talk about that, because do you think Saquon Barkley would be anywhere near as effective as he has this year with the Eagles, with the Bears offensive line?
No, but I don't think he would be as bad as Swift is. Or excuse me, he wouldn't have the numbers as poor as Swift has. I think he would have better numbers.
I have to look and see like what his broken tackles and yards after contact, like those are the ones that are most important right now.
Well, part of it is I think Barkley's a little more athletic. He's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, he can jump over people backwards, for Christ's sake. But did you see they added that move into Madden the week the week after he did that? They had to add it to the game.
I love it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. But I think Barkley would have been a better move. I'm not saying he'd have 1,100 yards rushing with the Bears, but I think he'd be better than what Swift is. Personally.
All right, so let me look here. So I'm looking at NFL stats, and Saquon Barkley, he got 1,100 yards rushing. He's averaging almost 6 yards a carry, which is great. Let's see. He's got yards before contact per rushing attempt, 3.7. So even before he even gets touched, he's already 3.7 down the field. DeAndre Swift is 2.3.
Okay, so almost a yard and a half worse.
And I attribute that to a combination of play calling and offensive line or blocking. Yes. Let's just say not just offensive line, could be tight ends, whatever it may be. Now, rushing yards after contact, he's averaging 2 yards. Saquon Barkley. DeAndre Swift is averaging 1.8.
Okay,
so he's not that far behind Saquon.
So pretty similar.
And broken tackles, Saquon has 7 and DeAndre is 5.
Okay. I guess if you look at it's the optics, right? I mean, for what we're looking at as fans, I mean, Barkley looks a ton better. The numbers are a lot better. Or the total yards are a lot better, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, what we're saying
so there are 3 players that have 18 broken tackles already this year as running backs.
18 broken tackles.
All right, you quizzed me last week. Who do you think? I dare you to name any of these 3, because it's not any of the people that I thought it would be.
Wow. Well, then it's not Derrick Henry.
He's number 4. He's got 17.
Oh, okay. Well, because he just kind of runs by people. Wow. Boy, I might need some hints on this.
All right, we got 2 in the NFC West.
Okay. Oh, who's the guy who replaced McCaffrey for the Niners?
No, it's not him.
It's not
Jordan
him?
Mason. It's not him. No.
It's not. Okay.
It's not a Niner. One is playing right now in this game.
Oh, whoever the Rams running back is.
J.K. Dobbins. He's got 18 broken tackles. He's averaging 2.8 yards after contact.
Okay, and I'm going to guess the other guy plays for Seattle?
Nope.
Arizona. Okay.
James Conner.
I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? And then Najee Harris at Pittsburgh. He's got 18 as well. So not the three guys, those are not three guys that you would normally,
Yeah, they're not three household names when it comes to running backs. No, but
you know who's up there though? Who they should have kept? David Montgomery. He's got 15 broken tackles.
I was really disappointed when they let him go because that was something he was always really good at. Was running into traffic and always getting an extra yard or two when they needed it. I was not happy that they let him go.
Yeah, I don't know what he wanted for money, but I feel like for what we're paying DeAndre Swift, keeping David Montgomery would have been at least equal to that talent and probably cheaper. I don't know what David Montgomery got from a contract perspective. I'll look it up.
I don't know what he got either, but I mean, he's obviously much happier up in Detroit with him and Jahmyr Gibbs, and they're winning games left and right, and probably headed to the Super Bowl.
Looks like 2 years. 2 years, $18 million.
Okay, so $9 million a year.
Yeah.
I think Swift was more. I think Swift gets paid more on an annual basis than that. Not by much, but I think he does. I think Swift is more like 11 or 12 a year. That's my guess.
Yeah, he's at $8 million. So 3 years, $24 million.
Oh, okay.
Is what he got. I thought it was 30. Maybe there's some incentives there or something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I thought there was too.
Yeah.
Well, geez, I got to brush up on my NFL contracts, man.
Yeah,
I was way off on that one. Jesus.
I did get a $4 million signing bonus. That must be nice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's easy for us to pick apart, player making $24 million. Be better.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here, speaking of picking apart, let's talk about the side of the ball that the Bears were kind of counting on to keep them in games early in the year. Their defense is starting to regress. I mean,
and regret.
Well, yeah. I mean, they gave up 450 plus yards today, ton of yards, and only 27 of them to Justin Jefferson. I mean, they covered that guy like a blanket, but they let Jordan Addison and
he was all over the place. And
Hawkinson, those two guys, I think, combined for almost 280 yards receiving on like 15 catches or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they're giving up deep balls like nothing. Jalen Johnson had a horrible game today. I know, supposedly he shut down Jefferson, but two bad pass interference calls. He let Addison get away from him on a play. Just not a good game for him at all. He missed a couple tackles.
I don't see him on the list of having any tackles.
Yeah, because he missed them all. No, he really struggled today. And for a guy who supposedly is the number one cover corner in the NFL last year, not a good day for him. And I got to tell you, he hasn't looked good the last 2 weeks, in my opinion. And this soft ass zone defense that they love to play, it's going to work in overtime, man. The Vikings marched down the field with ease in overtime. And it was just a matter of, okay, are they going to score a touchdown? Are they going to kick a field goal? It's inevitable that it's going to happen. I mean, my God, just bad.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game. They were in it. They should not have been in it. They used up all their good luck in that game, getting the onside, taking it overtime, getting a couple of touchdowns late to kind of, pull even. And and then, a lucky kick return at the end to kind of bail out DeAndre Carter's bad day, because I'm sorry, but if your entire job is to be a punt returner and a kick returner and you don't know how to get away from the ball that is clearly like get away from it and it still hits you, like that's a flagrant foul, I'll call.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a weird year, man. I mean, ever since the Hail Mary, this team is just at a tailspin, and they
it's like just deflated. The air has just like left out of the ball, and they're just like whatever.
They just can't seem to get out of it. I mean, we've seen 2 blocked kicks. We've seen, overtime loss. Now we've seen Hail Mary. We've seen, it's all kinds of crap that just doesn't seem to go their way. They didn't get a whole lot of calls today. I love the flea flicker for DJ Moore. He had
Yeah.
Rome in the end zone.
Rome could have done better pulling that back. I think
a little bit questionable coverage. I mean,
yeah,
there could have been a PI on that.
If you wanted to call it, yes, you could have called it.
Yes,
but a good team gets that call. Chicago Bears, this year's version of it, does not get that call.
A Bears rookie receiver does not get that call, unfortunately. Right. I think,
I'm
you're
impressed
right.
with Rome, though. I'm liking what I see from him. I mean, he's made some tough catches. He made a great catch over the middle, with two guys colliding on him, towards the end of the game to kind of keep things going. But I'm impressed with the connection there, and he's done well. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing from Caleb. The next however many games are all about Caleb's development. Do not win another game. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting to see is where do the Bears essentially go from here. It's obvious they're not going to fire Eberflus during the season. I think it's becoming obvious they're going to fire him at the end of the season. I think they have to. Where do they go? I mean, do they go get an offensive coach? Do they go get an offensive coordinator? I mean, all the talk is Ben Johnson out of Detroit. Would Ben Johnson take this job? Do they go try and pry a Kingsbury off of a Washington because he coached Caleb in college? Do they go grab a guy out of college? Do they give USC a call and say, what would it take to buy Lincoln Riley out of his contract since he coached Caleb at USC and Oklahoma? I mean, what do they do?
I don't know the answer is, but it can't be Flus next year. I think he's worn out his welcome, and I think you'd have a riot downtown Chicago or Arlington Heights or wherever the hell they're going to be playing too.
Yeah.
For the team. It's got to be something. I don't know what the answer is because I'm so jaded at this point. It's almost like it doesn't matter who they bring in. They will figure out a way to screw Caleb up.
I think they need to bring in a total ass kicker. If you think of the coaches they've had last few times around, that they just seem to have nice guys who worry about, them being good quality men and, big culture and everything's hunky dory with Matt Eberflus and Matt Nagy and Mark Trestman and John Fox. And I could go on and on and on.
Bill Belichick? He said he wants to get back in the coaching. I mean, he's the only ass kicker I can think of that's out there.
That wouldn't bother me. That honestly wouldn't bother me.
No.
Although I'll tell you what, don't rule him out as going to Dallas next year.
You think so?
How fun would that be to watch Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick mingle on a weekly basis? It wouldn't totally shock me. I don't think the McCaskies have the balls to hire Bill Belichick. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think Belichick would want total control.
Yes.
Over the football side of things, and what team would give him that? I don't think the Bears. I don't think Dallas will, because Jerry Jones is going to do Jerry Jones.
Yeah, but I mean,
the Jets,
Jerry Jones,
he worked
Jets. he worked under Bill Parcells, man. Parcells had hired or was hired by Jerry Jones at one point. I don't know.
Yeah, but they ran him out too.
He lasted. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he could go to the Jets, but he hates the Jets. But I don't know who else is going to be looking at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, a change needs to be made, and I think he needs to be offensive minded. Anything that's going to make Caleb better. I mean, that's what it's all about. And obviously, they have needs in the draft. I was looking at their draft status for next year. They have, as of right now, they have 7 picks, a first. They have 2 seconds, one from Carolina. They have a third. They have a 5th. They have a 6th from the Dolphins, and then they have a 6th round pick right now from the Steelers that could turn into a 4 if Justin Fields plays 51% of Pittsburgh snaps. And unless Russell Wilson gets hurt, I don't see that happening. So,
yeah,
most likely they'll have a first, 2 seconds, a third, a 5th, and 2 6ths. And Poles likes to do trades and things like that. So they'll have 7 picks in the draft as of right now.
I mean, use them all up on offensive linemen.
Yeah, offensive line is a must. I would argue they need defensive line. If they could get a stud pass rusher, that'd be nice. I think they need a safety. I think missing Jaquan Brisker is a big deal, and I think we're seeing that it's a big deal because they don't stop the run nearly as well as they used to. And when Brisker was the strong safety, when Brisker was the strong safety, that's when they were able to stop the run a lot more effectively. And I'll tell you what, They might need a corner because they're obviously not all too happy with Tyreek Stevenson. Ever since his little episode with the Commanders and the Hail Mary, they don't seem to like him very much because he's splitting time with Terrell Smith. And Smith is okay, but I don't think he's a starting caliber cornerback in the NFL. And, I think if they could find somebody who's can cut off half the field in the draft, I think they would do it.
My fear is that they would go reaching for somebody like that instead of shoring up the obvious offensive lineman issue. Don't go pay
definitely.
Do not go pay someone else just because it's like, oh, we got this, corner of opportunity or safety or whoever. Go sign the biggest, baddest offensive line you possibly can. Protect Caleb.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't see they need a center. They need a guard. And if they could find a stud tackle, I would still take one. I don't think Braxton Jones is the answer. And Darnell Wright, he's still young. But he needs work, man. I don't think he's as good as he was last year. I think he's struggling a little bit. And the other thing they struggle with is penalties. Pre-snap penalties on that offensive line are just a killer.
Yeah. And who's that on? Is that coaching or is that the player?
It's funny because the Daryl Johnston in the booth, he said that is all on the player. I BS. That's coaching to me. That's coaching.
Is that situational then? Is like, get in your stance and let's practice this. Don't jump.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do it over and over again. Yep.
Yes, it's discipline. And that's why I think they need an ass kicker as a coach. A guy who can raise his voice and get in a guy's face and say, that's not acceptable. I don't care if you're making $10 million a year. That's not acceptable, And if they had a guy like, like a Belichick or a Parcells or even John Gruden is another one. If they had a guy like that, I'm not saying bring back John Gruden, but, if a guy who could coach at that level, I think it would be beneficial for them.
So I just Googled Chicago Bears head coaching candidates. And this is what it's here's a name I hadn't thought of. Deion Sanders.
Dude, I would
Here's who else is on the list. Deion Sanders, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, Drew Petzing, Joe Brady, and Bobby Slowick. And it looks like there's this article that says Marcus Freeman, who I think is from Notre Dame, will leave Notre Dame to become the next Chicago Bears head coach. I don't know anything about the guy, so I'd have to look at it and see who this guy is.
That's an interesting one because they're actually, and I am not a Notre Dame fan. It has nothing to do with Marcus Freeman, but I just don't like Notre Dame. But they actually absolutely dominated Army on Saturday night. And I know you think, oh, Army is a football team. Yeah, they do. But they Army was 9-0 coming into the game, ranked number 19 in the country, which, the military academies are never ranked in football for anything. And Notre Dame just owned them from the get-go. I forget what the score was, but they won by like 35 points. And it was a very easy win. But what I liked about Marcus Freeman, when they went into the locker rooms at halftime, they were up by like 28-7 or something like that. And he was pissed off at how his team played. Yet they were up 3 touchdowns. So as far as, attitude wise, he didn't go into the locker room saying, yeah, I thought we did this well. We had to work on this. He's like, our execution was terrible on, this last play. We fumbled the ball. That has to be cleaned up. He had nothing good to say being up 3 scores.
That's what you want your coach to say, though.
Well, yeah. And there's
a time to celebrate. And that's when you're hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. If that's not what you're winning, then yeah, there's stuff to fix.
Yes. So, I just think they need somebody with some attitude, somebody who's going to come in, take control, and set the standard, and let the standard be the standard, and there is nothing else. So,
well, here's another competing article that the Chicago Bears are going to hire Ron Rivera. So, who knows?
Ex-Bear linebacker.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind Vrabel. I mean,
yeah, he's with Tennessee last.
He was with Tennessee. He's a defensive guy.
Another defensive guy is that what we want, though? Who would he pair on the offensive side?
He won a few Super Bowls as a player. He is a Belichick guy. So it wouldn't totally bother me. Slowick, I forget where he's coaching now, but I know he's an offensive guy. He might be the coordinator in Houston.
Let's look him up.
But
do we need another players coach though? Because I feel like Vrabel is a players coach to some degree.
Well, what do you define as a players coach?
Soft's probably not the right word, but more of a relatable, gets along with the player as well, is not a hardliner like a Belichick, for example.
I would say no. Look at how the Bears play. And granted, I know it was 1 year and they should have won a lot more, and it's a lot different, but I would love another Ditka type guy.
Yeah. Well, you can pick one of the many Ditka fans in the stands from today's shots.
Oh yeah, there are plenty of them. Plenty of them. But I would argue they haven't had a hard ass since him.
Does that make it harder to attract talent when you have a coach like that? Especially when you're at the position you are right now, where you are trying to build a culture and you don't have a track record of, that organization winning. Like, it's probably easier to say, I want to go play for Bill Belichick and win a Super Bowl after you've won a couple Super Bowls up there already.
It depends on who it is. I think if you bring in a Belichick, I mean, he brings credibility, instant credibility, right?
Yes.
If you bring in, say, a Ben Johnson, I don't know what kind of coach he is. I mean, obviously he's an offensive guy. He's having a lot of success in Detroit, but is he having that success because he has Jared Goff and he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe it is. And the two-headed monster that's Gibbs and Montgomery, and he's got an awesome offensive line, arguably the best in football. Is that why he's having success, or is it because of his scheme and the offense that he runs? That kind of thing. You can say the same thing for Kingsbury. Is he having success because of his scheme, or is it because Jaden Daniels is having a pretty good year? Although Daniels is starting to come back to earth a little bit. And
the law of averages are starting to affect him.
I would say he's not even the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year anymore. I think that might belong to Bo Nix. Now.
He's looking really good. I mean, it's if you think about it, I mentioned it today when I was watching the game with my wife. It's been actually a pretty decent quarterback class. These top 3 picks have all done pretty well this year.
They have. I don't know what Drake May did today, but I know he's played.
They've already anointed him the heir apparent up there, so
he's played well. Daniels overall has played well. We've talked about Caleb. I would say right now he's playing well. He's had his ups and downs, but he's playing well. Bo Nix had a slow start, but now he's playing well. We haven't seen Penix yet for Atlanta. Obviously, McCarthy got hurt, so we're not going to see JJ until next year. And I think that's really it for the big names. I know
I didn't want to go too far down the draft list, but
I know
several quarterbacks, are doing pretty well.
Yeah, they're making an impact, right? And I mean, it's not. I don't think it's as good as the 1983 class, but someday it could be. I don't know if you remember who came out of that class, but Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Ken O'Brien, and I know there were others. So
yeah,
it was good enough
you don't
to
really
make
know until probably 10 years down the road.
Probably correct. But that A3 class was good enough to make a 30 for 30 episode on ESPN solely about. So it was pretty damn good.
True. So yeah, another, I don't know. I don't want to call it a heartbreaker because it's not the Packers and it's not like we're playing for anything at this point, but another creative way to lose a game. Between this time, it wasn't the offense. This time it was special teams and the defense who let them down.
It just sucks because there was so much hope at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, man, you were high on the hopium when this year started.
I was. You drafted Caleb. You drafted a receiver. You traded for a receiver. You had, weapons out the wazoo. I mean, everybody said arguably the best rookie situation a guy could walk into, and it's just been. I don't want to say it's been a total disaster, but it's pretty close compared to what was expected. I mean, they were talking playoffs this year. I was on the bandwagon. I said there's a path to 11 wins. And you take out about 6 plays and they could be, 7-4 instead of 4-7. But good teams make
7-4. It would be they shouldn't be 7-4.
But good team. Here's my point though. Good teams make those plays.
Yep.
Good teams don't take sacks in overtime. Good teams don't have 2 field goals blocked. Good teams know how to get away from a punt when it's, when you want to let it go and bounces 2 feet in front of you. I mean, good teams make these plays. Good teams don't have false starts. Good teams don't have pre-snap penalties. Good
Yep.
teams don't burn timeouts. Good teams don't go for 2 when they don't have to. It's just they don't do things that good teams do, and that's what's disappointing.
Yeah. Well, they've lost 5 in a row. They play the Lions in Detroit next week. I think that's a blowout if it goes away. I think, there's a team that on their schedule that I think they can beat. It's the 49ers, which pains me as a 49ers fan, but the 49ers look awful today. No Brock Purdy. They can't. I don't think they've had a single game this year with their team on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
Everyone is hurt.
Yeah, because you had Debo out there, you had McCaffrey out there, and that was good. But no Brock Purdy, and I don't know if he would. It did show. I don't know if he would have made up the entire difference. I mean, Green Bay was kind of pretty dominant today, but the Niners, their whole story is injuries, right?
Yeah.
They just, if they had their full arsenal, they would be competing in that division.
Yeah, they were Super Bowl favorites going into the season.
Yeah. And rightfully so.
I think they can beat the Niners because they'll be in San Francisco. I think that is a winnable game depending on which 49er team shows up. If the 49ers are ravaged by injury or if this Brock Purdy thing is lingering, I think they've got a shot. And the other one I think is maybe the Seahawks.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think the Bears will get swept by their own division. They'll lose 2 to the Packers. They'll wind up losing 2 to the Vikings. They'll definitely lose 2 to the Lions. They just can't until they can prove they can beat one of these teams. I can't predict them to beat any of them. Mm-hmm. Here's a question for the Niners, though. If they continue to lose, I don't know what their record is.
The 49ers?
Today. Yeah.
Let's see. They are 5-6.
So they're 5-6. If they continue to struggle, do you think Shanahan keeps his job?
Yeah, because I think you kind of have to give this year a pass only because of the injury bug everywhere. I mean, you're missing McCaffrey, you've missed Purdy a full game, but part of other games too. Debo has been hurt. Some of their defensive players are still out as well. So I think, and despite all that, they've been competitive up until today. I don't think they've been blown out.
Okay.
And today was a bad day. They couldn't stop Josh Jacobs. They couldn't stop at all anybody on Green Bay,
Yeah.
And they had a not good quarterback starting the game,
Well,
but every other game they've been in, their biggest loss would have been this one. And before this was they lost by 10 to, what was it? It was earlier in the year to Kansas City, which there's no shame in losing to Kansas City at this point.
No, I'll tell you what, Carolina sure gave them a run for their money today. I mean, they kicked the field goal with 2 seconds to go to win it.
Good teams find a way to win those games.
This is true. Yep. Good teams make things happen. It'll just be interesting to see who else fires a coach at the end of the year. I mean, every year we have, usually about 25% of the league fire their head coach, right?
Yep.
And so far, you've had the Jets fire theirs. You've had the Saints fire theirs. We know, at least I hope we know, that the Bears are going to fire theirs. I don't know who else might be on the block. I will tell you this. This is an interesting stat. Did you know within the last 2 years, every single NFL team has swapped out their offensive coordinator within the past 2 years?
Really?
That's crazy.
That's a lot of movement for that.
That's a ton of movement. I mean, our old offensive coordinator Lugetzi went out to Vegas and got fired already. So he struggles. Yep. Our offensive coordinator gone again. Shane Waldron, he's gone. I don't know. Can you see you see Thomas Brown as a potential head coaching candidate for this team?
I don't know. I just don't know enough about the guy. It seems like it's been a better last couple games, but for the steps that they've taken forward in the offense, the defense and special teams have taken bigger step backwards.
Yes.
or just as big, I should say. So I don't know. I think it's just a team in disarray right now that is really doesn't know what their identity is, because I think they are still clinging to trying to run the football and not doing that. They're not really a passing offense. Like, what is the team identity for the Chicago Bears?
They only threw the ball. I think they were pretty evenly matched last week. It was like 34 passes versus 32 runs or something like that. It might be reversed. Today it was 47 passes versus like 20 something rushes. So they're very pass happy today.
But that's, I think that's the game, right? I don't think they want to be throwing 50 yards of ball, 50 yards.
No, they probably don't. They probably don't. And today did kind of dictate that, but that's the point. They don't seem to dictate the game. They're always playing to the other team's, whatever you call it. The other
they're
teams.
Reacting. They're not.
Yes.
They're not they're not pushing
proactive.
Forward. Right.
They're reacting. That's right.
They're constantly behind and taking what the defense gives them instead of, what is their offensive identity? I don't know what it is, other than the fact that they can't block. Is that their offensive identity?
Today. Yeah. Well, today was the first game all year. They scored first.
Yeah.
It was the first game all year. And then we're like, oh, okay, they're off and running, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly they're down 14-7, and then it's business as usual.
Yeah. It's like, okay, here's the real Chicago Bears.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
so if I look at next week's game against the Lions, Lions are already a 10.5 point favorite.
Like the Lions cover that easily.
You think so?
I think the Lions win that game by at least 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, they're just too tough.
Yep.
In my opinion. But they just, especially the way the defense has played the past 2 games, I think the Lions just eat them alive. I really do. And I just hope Caleb doesn't take a step backwards. And it would be very easy for him to take a step backwards because, you're playing against arguably the best team in the NFC. I just hope he hangs in there and has a game like he's played the past 2 weeks and hopefully keeps them competitive. I just don't think they have the horses to keep up with Detroit. They just don't. So,
well, I mean, Detroit's put up 50 points twice in the last 5 games. So
yeah, exactly.
Slowing them down is one thing. Can the Bears keep up with even a slowed down Detroit offense is probably the bigger question. But
well, yeah, the thing is, and they're also shutting teams down without arguably their best player, Aiden Hutchinson. Imagine if Hutchinson was still on the team. I think he's been out how many weeks? He's been out like a month now, and he's still like 3rd in the NFL in sacks, which is crazy.
He had a pretty good start.
Yeah, he did. So,
yep.
All right, what else?
I feel like it's the Bears again. It's like, okay, it's another disappointment Sunday night.
It's the same shit, different week. It honestly is. And again, I had so much hope at the beginning of the year, and now it's just down the toilet. A buddy of mine was saying, I hope they lose every game here on out just to get draft position. I hate rooting for draft position by like essentially week 8. Okay, well, let's hope for the draft pick and hope for next year.
Yeah, but what does winning get you at this point? Nothing.
It doesn't get you anything. I know.
Right.
I know. That's why I hate being a fan of this team.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. I gave you some music recommendations last week.
Yes, you did. Okay. And I actually sampled all 3 of them. I sampled Run the Jewels.
All right.
What is it? D-Antwoord?
D-Antwoord.
And Royal Blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hit me. Wherever you want to start. I'm willing to take the body blows. Let's hit me.
No, I'll tell you what. Knowing you, I can see why you like all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. Knowing your taste in music, that I think, that you've told me that you've kind of tried to broaden over the years, but knowing you from when we hung out all the time, I'm not surprised that you liked all 3 of these.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Run the Jewels for me reminded me a lot of like early hip hop. Reminded me a ton of Ice Cube and Ice-T, believe it or not. And it almost was identical to me to Public Enemy.
It's
And
definitely
I
that activist style rapping,
yes,
right? And
and
here's what I
when
like
I
is I can actually understand what they're saying.
yeah, well, exactly, and um, it was more of Ice-T when he was in that group, Body Count.
Oh yeah, yeah,
If
yeah. I
you
remember
remember
body
Body
count.
Count,
Yeah.
real, yeah, you can understand it, but it was hardcore. It was kind of in your face. It was, trying to make a stand. Just trying to make a statement type stuff. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was
Mhm.
definitely, a break from some of the crap rap that you hear today. So
Was there a
I enjoy,
particular track that you liked? I think I
you
mentioned Out
know,
of
I,
Sight.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one
Mhm.
I listened to the most. I'll admit I need to go a little deeper, but I did sample a couple of songs and Out of Sight did stick out for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, good.
And what I was really impressed with, there's a video on YouTube, I think it came out like 7 years ago. I think it's got 68 million views. So it's not like these guys are like
Oh
totally
yeah.
underground and not
No, no,
known.
no. Yeah.
They're out there, man.
Yeah. If you're listening, please don't mistake me as like I have discovered these people
No,
because
yeah.
they're very
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah.
All of
No,
these
I
bands are.
was I was surprised, but no, it was a good one for me.
All right, good.
D Antword,
Yeah.
definitely. Is that what it is? D Antword, Die
Yes.
Antword? Okay.
D Antword. Yep.
D Antword.
I'm
Okay.
curious to see what you thought of these guys.
Definitely different. And I
Uh-huh.
struggled.
Yeah.
To find what they remind me of. Okay. Because a lot of it was stuff that I really had never heard before. Like,
Hmm.
because usually you hear a band and you're like, oh, yeah, they sound like these guys. Or, oh, you can hear the influence of these guys. This band, it was a stretch.
That's
So
part of the appeal for me was when I
it's
first
part
heard it.
of
It's like
the,
I've never heard anything like this before. It was new.
yeah. The lead singer, very high pitched
Yolandi
voice.
Visser. Yep.
Yes. Almost to the point where it sounded like a video game.
Yeah, right. And
You
that's why I
know,
was like, I wasn't sure if you were going to like him or not based solely on that voice. Because it could absolutely go there. I don't think there's a middle part for that voice. Either you like it or you don't like it.
yeah. Okay. So I came up with three groups that I could kind of hear in their music. And
Okay.
one you might not agree with, but I'm going to go with it because I've heard her songs a couple times. I think the singer sounds a lot like Iggy Azalea, if you know who that is.
Yeah,
And
that
if you
real high
don't,
pitched. Yep.
yeah, just kind of, you know, kind of high pitched, all that stuff.
Almost
The
cartoony
music,
to some degree.
yeah, yes. The music for me, and this is a bit of a stretch, but hang with me on this. Red Hot Chili Peppers, and
Hmm.
back in their funk days, like
Okay.
back in their like '90s Blood Sugar Sex Magic album type
Hmm.
days, maybe even before that. And then the last group I have for you, if you remember these guys, is Gorillaz.
Yep. Gorillaz is the
So
one that I think for me is like, oh yeah,
yeah,
okay, I could see some of that there.
yeah, a lot of the actual music it
Hmm.
reminded me of Gorillaz. So, but again, I thought it was cool. It
Hmm.
was different, and that's
It's
what I liked
very
about it.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
What about
Royal
Royal Blood?
Blood.
Yeah,
Royal Blood. Really like them. That's
yeah,
more my style. A lot of
yeah. I figured
guitar,
it would be.
a lot of drums. That's
Hmm.
my thing. So I came up with three groups for them.
Okay.
Okay. I heard a lot. U2,
Okay. That's interesting.
Soundgarden, a
Okay.
lot of Soundgarden in the guitar, and then the White Stripes.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to have a rock band that isn't influenced by Jack White.
Agree.
At
But
least,
just
recently.
yeah, but just the style. I thought the style was cool, but yeah, I will definitely do a lot more listening to Royal Blood. That was more my style. Um, but yeah, it was edgy, but it was also just a tad grungy for me, which is where I get the Soundgarden
Yeah. Which
reference.
yeah, they're and they're great live. Like I said, I saw them live here
I can see that.
in the
Yeah.
area, and it was a great show. Two dudes on stage, just a wall of sound, crunchy guitars, and just booming.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Drums. I mean, just it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Not many two person acts these days outside
Mhm.
of God, the ones that come to mind, was it Local H?
Yeah, Local H is one that comes to mind for me, for sure.
Oh, what's the one that
Muse might be another one too. If they're
Muse?
very,
Yes,
I think there's a lot of influence on like Muse and maybe Queens of the Stone Age.
yes, and well, the other two, the 2-person act that I think of is the Black Keys.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, Muse in this case, Muse is a really good one. But
yeah.
no, really enjoyed all three. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I figured Royal Blood was kind of the safe pick there because
yeah,
they're what you and I think I both like. Right? It's like just crunchy guitars, good riffs, something that you can sing along to it if you want, if you have that kind of voice.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
It was so funny because this week I was working and all of a sudden I get a text from my son. It was on Friday, and he's like, "Have you ever heard of Dire Straits?" And I'm like, "Dire Straits, of course." I mean, okay, Justin, he's 23. He's like, "Man," he's like, I heard some really cool guitar riffs in them. What are some songs by them?" I'm like, "Dude, Money for Nothing."
You're like, hold on a second, hold my beer. Like you're like stretching your fingers out.
So
immediately
I Googled and YouTubed and sent him like Dire Straits' greatest hits. He's like, "Oh man, this is awesome." And I'm like, "Oh my God, the kid's never heard of Dire Straits."
That's the great thing about music though. Like people can discover it at any point, right? They don't have to even be living at this point.
It's so funny.
Still enjoying Queen, decades later.
Funny thing about Queen, they're I was reading they are actually supposed to tour this year, believe it or not.
Okay.
With
I'm sure it's still a good show. Like was that the guy from The Voice or whatever it is?
American Idol, Adam
Idol.
Lambert. Yeah. It's funny. I wrote this down because I was just looking at we're talking about finding new music, but I still say the rock music of back when we were younger still works today. And I was like, I wonder who's still out there touring and
when you say rock of
shows.
Yesterday, like when we were like, you're talking about 90s, early 2000s.
For me it's mid 80s to early 2000s. Okay. But yeah,
I mean you're an older gentleman. I forget how old you are sometimes.
Yeah, 1800s. I know. But and I was looking at, I'm like, okay, Queen is out on the road next year. Metallica back out on the road next year. Green Day, Oasis making a return.
I hate Oasis.
I don't like them either.
Band.
I don't like them either, and I don't think they even like each other. But
that's an instant skip.
The Gallagher brothers are going to be back on the road in 2025. Right. Brian Adams, Iron Maiden.
Offspring is out there. Offspring is touring.
And Bruce Springsteen. I heard an Offspring reference the other day. That is one concert I honest to God regret missing. I remember you guys went and I was like, no, I don't need to go to that. I regret that one. That is one awesome. I regret. Yeah, I know.
It's everything you expect it to be in the, I guess that was when the late 90s, this would have been after the Smash album, somewhere in that area.
Probably
on the Ombre, maybe something like that.
Probably 97, 98.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking
like
we were working at Chili's at the time, but yeah.
Oh, first concert I ever went to was Offspring, so they'll always have a special plate in my heart. Going there with Chad and with Andre and me, first time in the city, downtown at a concert, like all that stuff. It was kick ass.
Yeah, I should have gone to that one. That is one I missed.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the concerts that we went to that really stick out for me were Gravity Kills.
Yeah, Gravity Kills is awesome. I've seen them 2 or 3 times.
Okay, that was the only time
live.
Or no, we saw him. I think we saw him twice. Let's see, Gravity Kills. When we went and saw Bush at the Aragon.
Oh, it's so hot.
It was hot in there.
That was a good concert, but man, they needed AC in the Aragon Brawl badly.
And then, if I recall right, we saw live the very next night.
Yep.
Out in Tinley Park.
Yeah, it was the World or whatever it was called at the time. It's not called that anymore now, but.
And
that was a good show, man. Live is great.
Live is good. They are really good. And then 2 more. I think I talked you into going to Van Halen one time.
Yeah, we went and saw Van Halen. That was at Allstate Arena or Rosemont Horizon, I think
Yeah,
is at the time.
and this was after David Lee Roth and after Sammy Hagar. This is with Gary Sharon, but I will argue with anybody that concert was every bit as good
Yeah.
as any other show. He was awesome. I know people say that he sucked when he was in Van Halen, but live he was awesome. I thought he was great. And the one thing I liked about it was he did a song from every Van Halen album that's ever been done up to that point. And he had no ego. It was like, yeah, I'll sing their songs. I'm, whatever. Because the other two don't do that. And I thought that was really cool. And then obviously when we went and saw one of the many times we saw Metallica, but the one time we saw Metallica at Allstate when it was
awesome.
Metallica in the round. Oh my God, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Which is conversely, the one when we saw them out in, was it Rockford or whatever, was one of the worst performances I'd seen. They were awful.
That was
stage.
bad. That whole day was bad because I think it was Metallica, Chili Peppers. I think we saw Rancid.
But they just didn't have it that night for whatever reason. As big of fans as you and I are of Metallica, it was not a good concert for them.
That was an early version of Lollapalooza, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not good. That was not a good show at all.
Let's see. What about Korn? So I
was a Korn guy.
I love my new metal. Korn's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit pops up every now and then. It's like, all right, I can still dig it.
For sure.
Saliva.
Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit is one of my all-timers. I can listen to that song with volume 10 many times over. I think Wes Borland is just a freak show. Dude is awesome on guitar.
He's awesome. He is so good. And he's got an interesting story. It's like he's really more of a visual entertainer, and that's why he like dresses up and does costumes and things like that. And he's got some really interesting guitar riffs that are out there. And he's good.
And from what I understand, he's a pretty sharp guy. So it's not. I mean, it's like you said, it's kind of all for show. But he's pretty smart guy. So
all right, well, let me think if I can give you another recommendation. I'm gonna stick with ED, like the electronic stuff this week. Knife Party / Pendulum. The common thread between the two of them is Rob Swire, who does a lot of production as well for other artists.
Pendulum.
Knife Party and Pendulum, kind of a drum and bass EDM type thing, kind of all over the place. So if you just go on Spotify or whatever your service is and just look at the top artists for them, that's one that I've been into for the last couple years. I think I discovered them maybe 6 or 7 years ago. But I love a lot of the stuff they do. And you've probably heard some of their stuff before.
I'll check it out.
Yep.
I will check it out for sure. All right. Yeah, I was interested. When I was going through the stuff for Run the Jewels, they've actually collaborated with a lot of big names. I think it was Travis Barker.
Yep.
Of what the hell's her freaking name? Blink 182. I know he's more than Mr. Kourtney Kardashian, for Christ's sake. It's like, God, what band is that dude in?
Is he a Kardashian? I didn't know that.
He's married to one Kourtney Kardashian. Why I know that, I don't know, but probably because, the Kardashians are shoved in my face on a daily basis. I'm
doing very well. They're not shoved in my face at any point, so I have no idea what's going on with the Kardashians. You could say I've not kept up with them.
I know so much stupid, dumb pop culture that I don't need to know about that more than I even care to, and I don't even know why. I just do. I'm trying to look up. I was reading about Run the Jewels earlier, and I'm trying to look up who else they have worked with. But when I read the names, I was like, oh wow, how do I not know this? Because I'm usually pretty good with this kind of stuff.
Well, they've done stuff with like Tom Morello. They've definitely gotten around.
Yeah, I mean, they list all kinds of influences like Led Zeppelin, Beastie Boys, all
2
kinds
Chainz.
of stuff. Yeah.
They did a sample from, what was the lead singer for Rage Against the Machine? Zach something?
Oh, Zach De La Rocha. That's actually who I was trying to think of.
Yeah, so he does like a sample on one of the songs, and it's he's part of that as well. So yeah, they do quite a bit.
Rage Against the Machine is one of those bands that I got to be in the mood for. Because sometimes I think they're annoying as hell, but sometimes you hear a song of theirs come on and you're just like, oh yeah, that hits me right now. I need
Maybe
it,
I'm just full of anger all the time, but I'm always in the mood for Rage Against the Machine.
Well, that's the band name, right?
Yeah. I mean, Tom Morello is awesome. So even when he's doing his own thing, he has there was an album he put out, I think it was Battle Sirens or something like that. I'd have to look it up. But he's put together a bunch of stuff. He's done stuff with Knife Party. That's the one I was thinking of. He does a song called Battle Sirens with Knife Party.
Okay.
Trying to think what else. The Atlas Underground. That's the one I was thinking of. Great album.
Okay.
And he's a guitarist, so he's collaborating with everybody. He's got Highway to Hell with Bruce Springsteen and Eddie Vedder. So if you want to check that out, go check out Tom Morello's The Atlas Underground Fire.
Tom Morello's The Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The Atlas Underground Fire is the name of the album. Came out in 21.
I will check that out. Tom Morello, local Chicago guy from Libertyville, and big time Cub fan.
Yes, very big.
Good old Tom Morello. So
he gets around. He does a lot of collaborations with folks.
So what's one band that everybody seems to like that you cannot stand?
Dave Matthews, Oasis.
I have 2. Okay.
Dave Matthews and Oasis, I guess. Those are immediate skips every time they come on.
All right, don't tell Chad because he's a diehard.
No, I want him to know. I want him to know
right.
how badly I hate that band.
You know, I used to really like Dave Matthews when they first came out, but after about the 500th time I heard "What Can You Say," I've written them off as well. I heard that in Michelle and Denise's apartment. I don't know how many hundreds of times, and it just got old for me. 2 bands that I cannot stand, and one of them I guess is just an individual guy, but Jimmy Buffett, I can't.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand the whole parrot head thing. I don't understand
it's the whole lifestyle, right? It's the Hawaiian shirt, drinking a margarita, or in Key West, or something like that. I don't know.
And it might be because for me it's a little close to country because I don't like country.
Yeah, I hate country.
The other band that I can't get into is Green Day.
See, I like Green Day.
Yeah,
but I can see that because it's a lot of their songs sound the same.
It's just basic. It's what is it? What are they? It's like the 3 notes on the guitar, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm trying to think of it. I don't know if I've seen Green Day.
I never have, and I don't plan on ever seeing them. But I mean, they have a couple songs that are okay. I guess they're very basic to me, and I just never got into them.
Yeah, there were. I bought the Green Day Dookie album and Offspring Smash at the same time. Those are the first 2 CDs I ever bought. So
first CDs I ever bought. Wow.
Yep. And then I bought the week after that was 9 Inch Nails. Pretty.
Oh
no, it was
Pretty Hate Machine.
No, it was the one after that. It was what's the name of it? Downward Spiral.
Yeah. Pretty Hate Machine was awesome. The first 2 CDs I ever bought were Pearl Jam 10 and ACDC Back in Black.
ACDC is another band that I can't stand anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I listen to them like forever, and now I cannot stand listening to anything from ACDC. Yeah, I am totally done with them. And I'm so done. I didn't even think about it when you asked me the question because I'm like, I don't give a shit about ACDC anymore. Like, skip.
Well, I will tell you this: as much as I enjoy ACDC, their most popular song by a long shot, "You Shook Me All Night Long," I hate that song.
I'm done with it. It's overplayed. I'm done with it too.
Yeah, I think it's dumb. But
that's a band. That's a band I should like, though. Guitars, rock.
Well,
I mean,
they're guilty.
Hits, I get it.
They're very guilty of a lot of their songs sounding the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're very guilty of that. But I don't know. I saw them live at the United Center, and I think Chad went with a couple other people, and I swear to God, that concert was in my head for like a week.
Whether by choice or by not, right?
Oh my
Still
God.
rattling
Yeah.
on.
No, I felt like I was still there. It was that loud, and it was pretty wild. So
Yeah. Well, as we get older, as an older gentleman that you are now, I think showing up with like those was it like they're not like earplugs, but they're like the ones that like reduce the sound.
yeah.
Is starting to become a little more of a attractive feature for me when I go to these shows.
Yeah, it would probably be a necessity for me.
Yeah.
Because my hearing is,
if a show is not mixed well and you can't hear the music, then what's the point, man? I mean,
yeah.
if I want to just hear like a wall of sound and it's all distorted and it like I can't actually hear the music, like that's a shitty show.
Yeah, and you'll laugh. Michelle and I, back when they sponsored the tour for Chili's, In Sync, we got tickets to the show, and they were free because I would not buy In Sync tickets, and it was entertaining, but talk about just a constant scream of teenage girls
Yeah.
just drowned out almost the entire thing. And I'm talking, it was Allstate Arena. We were down on the floor in the 7th row, right in the middle. I mean, they were like right there. And I'm like, this is actually pretty cool. I mean, Smash Mouth opened, who was very good, by the way. But In Sync was just loud. And I was like, oh my God, I walked out of there deaf.
That's how I felt when I saw Janet Jackson and Usher opened for her. And it was at the All-State Arena. We were up in the seats. I think I went with MB or something like that, if I remember.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was very much the ratio was totally off in that arena. Predominantly female audience, which is fine. That's cool. And
sure,
she put on a great show. Usher was great. So I had a good time with it. But yeah, there was a lot of high pitched and singing, and it's a very different experience when you go to a show like that versus a rock show where it's a mosh pit and people are headbanging, right, or whatever. It's a totally different vibe.
Yeah, I remember going to see White Zombie, thinking, all right, I just want to walk out of here not injured. So I remember it was just general admission. Stand wherever you wanted to. I remember standing way in the back. I forget who I went with, but yeah, that was just 2 hours of Rock'em Sock'em Robots in the audience, if you know what I mean. And that was rough. But there are shows like that are just like, oh my God, I just want to survive. And there are other shows that, man, I could stand in here for hours. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well, check out Knife Party.
I will.
Pendulum. What else? I've been into Justice recently as well. Justice, another French electronic group.
Justice.
Something or other.
Okay, so I've got Knife Party, Pendulum, Tom Morello's Underground.
The
whatever.
Atlas Underground. There's a few different versions of it, but any of them are probably decent. You can just kind of scroll through the list and say, oh, okay. There's like Fire, Flood. There's like different versions of the album.
Got it.
It's just,
so Tom
it's nothing,
Morello,
just collaborations.
Atlas Underground, and then Justice. Got it, man.
Justice.
I will
Hyperdrama has been on repeat for like the last 2 months for me.
Okay.
Yeah. That's from Justice.
It's kind of wild that sometimes it's like you get a song, or you get like a group of songs, and you're just locked in on those for a certain amount of time. Like for the longest time, I was locked into the Rock in Rio concert by Rush from 2013. And I just listened to that over and over and over. I told you I listened to 2022 Lollapalooza anytime I cut my yard. Listen to, Nine Inch Nails. A lot of good concerts out there on YouTube that you can go back to and really, really enjoy. And, a couple old Van Halen shows, and them from live in Tokyo. And I think it was 2015. One of the last tours they did before Eddie Van Halen passed away. He's one of the few guys. And usually, when artists pass away, I know people go nuts and stuff. It doesn't bother me. I was visually upset when I heard he passed away, because that was like a big part of my youth. He was like my intro to music when I was a kid, and like to rock music. And when he died, I was like, wow, that hit me. Like, you know how like when John Lennon died or Kurt Cobain died, Eddie
Yeah.
Van Halen was like my Kurt Cobain, if you will. And I was really sad for a while.
Well, it's
when
one
he
of those
passed
things like
away.
you grow up with these folks, right? And it's like, okay, at some point, all the bands, they're getting older. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, oh, Kurt Cobain, like when he committed suicide, for example, was interesting. It was an interesting time, but
well,
yeah, you get accustomed, or you get attached, I would say is probably the word. Is like, oh, okay, you're just a big fan of it, and you hope for this immortality, which to some degree is there through the music.
Well, I mean, Kurt Cobain, a member of the 27 Club, right?
Yeah.
Was it Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, and I think there's another one that I can't think of right now, but all music legends that passed away way too young.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It's tough. That is, I mean, we idolize these guys and we, love their music and, want their attention and all that kind of stuff, but their lifestyle is tough and it's fame is difficult, man.
Yeah. I think if you don't have a good grounding and support system around you, you can easily spiral.
Yeah. I'm looking at the 27 Club. Oh, Janis Joplin.
Yeah. That was the one I was thinking of, Janis Joplin. I wasn't sure if she was 27 or not.
And a guy by the name of Brian Jones, who is a co-founder of the Rolling Stones, all died at the age of 27. So,
well, there you go.
I mean, more recently for us, Chris Cornell from Soundgarden.
Yeah, that was tough.
And Chester Bennington.
Linkin Park.
Yeah, Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. That was like a month. Those two were like a month apart from each other.
Yeah,
I was a big Linkin Park guy.
I loved Chris Cornell. I thought he had the best voice in rock.
Oh my God, he was so good.
Absolutely killer.
That guy could sing anything.
Yeah.
Have you heard the new Linkin Park at all?
I haven't. With the new singer they've got. What's her name?
Emily Armstrong.
I have to give them a shot and see what's out there. I'm more of a singles person for them. Like I don't really listen to the albums.
Yeah.
I'll find songs I like, and they definitely have some bangers for sure. But I gotta see what they're up to now.
They they are. I guess they have a new album coming out soon. They have a single out. They debuted it on the Fallon show, on Tonight's Show, and it was pretty good. She sounded. You could tell she's trying to stick with the Linkin Park sound, but there's a definite difference. I mean, she's got that, raspy, hardcore, rip your throat out voice that Bennington had, but it is different. I mean, she obviously because she's a girl and she's, a little higher pitch and all that kind of stuff. But
kind of give it a listen. Right? I mean, if you're looking to do it, I mean, they don't want to turn into a tribute band, right? They still want to have their own identity, so it's got to be tough to be someone new coming into that.
Well, it took them 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they hadn't put anything out in 7 years, and I forget when exactly Chester Bennington died.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, time flies.
I know. He was obviously such a big part of that band and a big part of that band's identity. It would be hard to replace. And it's like you want to keep the Linkin Park name, but you also want to preserve the Chester Bennington name within the band, right? So it's tough, but yeah, give them a listen with Emily, and I think you'll like it. It's definitely different, but it's good.
I will. Looks like they just put out a new album from zero.
Yes,
I have to add it to my Spotify queue here.
There you go.
There you go.
So
all right,
there you go. We got new music for you.
Hour 13 in the can so far. Thanksgiving coming up this week.
Yeah, you got any plans?
No. No plans, and it's awesome. Nothing going on. We're not hosting. I don't even know if we're eating. So nothing's going on.
I say, is the boil order still in place?
No. So I forgot to tell you
I heard the boil order was lifted.
It was lifted. So as of Monday, we went 53 days without potable water, but it is now we're back to normal on that side. So now it's just basically storm cleanup and businesses recovering, stuff like that. So that's great news. What's not
congratulations to you and your wife, because I know that has not been easy. So that's a good thing.
It definitely helps put things in perspective. Having gone through something like this, for sure. We did fine. It'll be a road to recovery for the area, but come visit. The water's there now. Restaurants should be open. Needed tourism. Kind of happened at the worst possible time of the year, which is so heavily dependent on this economy on tourism.
Yeah.
So I know there's some places already closing down, unfortunately, but yeah, come visit. Yeah. So there we go. So I'm not doing shit this week as far as I'm concerned.
Let's see. I'm actually on vacation this week.
Nice. Me too, technically, starting Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm on vacation technically starting last Friday, but I'll still be quote unquote working, but not really going out to see anybody. So that'll be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We've got Jeremy coming home from school on Tuesday. So we'll have him. Justin's going to stay in Colorado. And then I think his girlfriend and her family are coming for dinner on Thursday.
Okay.
And I think it's just 4. So we'll have 8 at our house. And I think Joshua's girlfriend will probably stop by later. And so we'll just hang out with them, watch football, watch the Bears get their ass kicked, and enjoy. There's rumor of we usually play touch football in the morning. But since we're getting older, the older members of this group that we've been playing, for probably about 10 years now. Last year was the first year we had enough kids that we didn't need all the adults, if that makes sense.
All right, yeah.
So we kind of got to pick the teams and then kind of be captain and all that kind of thing, and then just let the kids go do their thing. So we'll see if that takes place this year or not. But if it does, it will. It's supposed to be 40 degrees and windy, very windy here. So we'll see what happens.
We actually had a cover of snow Sunday morning. Saturday morning when I woke up, which is the most snow I've seen since we moved here. It melted all the way by like noon, 2:00, whatever it was, but the most snow I'd seen, which was kind of a nice thing. Archie, one of our dogs, has not seen snow yet, and so that was kind of interesting watching him go out and like, can I walk on this?
Nice.
But yeah, and now we're back to like 60s or whatever it is. So
yeah, we had a dusting of snow on Wednesday, and by late Wednesday afternoon, early evening, it was all gone.
Yeah,
but people forgot how to drive in it, so it just made commuting on Wednesday an absolute nightmare.
Well, they did close the schools on
no way
Friday or Saturday. Yeah. I mean, as a northerner, as we both are, right? It's very comical to see, like, all right, they don't have the infrastructure, like, there's no plows.
Yeah, you don't have the plows or the salt trucks or all that stuff. So I get it.
But there wasn't. I mean, the roads were fine. I mean, come on.
I used to laugh at that, but I always think, but up here, I mean, the plows weren't out, but the salt trucks definitely were. So it's like, if you don't have that, then maybe I get it. So
it's just funny to look outside, and it was Friday when we had that snow covering. So I think about it, because they had closed the schools because, there was, it couldn't have been even like half an inch. It had been like a quarter of an inch. It was like nothing. And just not ready for it, I guess. That's just fine.
Cool. Well, hopefully everyone out there has a great holiday and enjoys some time with friends and family, or doing whatever you do. And Christmas is coming, man. It'll be here before we know it. Yeah,
no kidding. I got 2 more trips for the end of the year, and then I'm done, and then I'm home for the last couple weeks. So
nice.
Looking forward to that.
Cool.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you again next week, I guess.
All right, brother. Enjoy.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.